Welcome to our very first season of Life on Track, the TV series and the podcast series, where it's all about helping you get on the track you were born into this life to be on, personally and professionally. It's about you getting into the driver's seat of your own life. I'm your host, Erin, and I'm so excited to get into this. I'm going to introduce my amazing guest here, Dan Clark. I'm going to read his bio because I don't want to leave anything out. This man is fantastic. So Dan Clark is the founder and CEO of an international leadership development company, a high-performance business coach, New York Times bestselling author of 35 books, university professor, a primary contributing author to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, international podcaster, gold record songwriter, and an award-winning athlete who fought his way back from a paralyzing injury that cut short his football career. Dan was inducted into the National Speakers Hall of Fame and has been named one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the world. Dan has spoken to over 6 million people in all 50 states, in 71 countries, on 6 continents, to more than 6,000 audiences, including most of the Fortune 500 companies, Super Bowl champions, NASA, and to our combat troops in Iraq, Afghanistan, Asia, and Africa. Dan has appeared on over 500 television and radio shows, including Oprah and Beck, PBS and NPR, and has been featured in the Mayo Clinic Journal, Forbes, Inc., Success, Entrepreneur, Thoughtmasters, and Millionaire Magazines. Dan's extraordinary life includes soaring to the edge of space in a U-2 spy plane, flying fighter jets with the Air Force Thunderbirds, racing automobiles at Nürburgring and sailboats in Australia, serving on the Olympic Committee and carrying the Olympic torch in the Winter Games, and keynoting the United Nations World Congress. Dan was named an Outstanding Young Man of America and has since received the United States Presidential Medal presented by President Ronald Reagan, the United States Distinguished Service Medal presented by the United States Department of Defense, was the national recipient of the prestigious Air Force American Spirit Award, and was named Utah Father of the Year. Welcome, Dan Clark.
It's so fun, Erin. That was way too long. I appreciate you. You flatter me. I felt like I was at my own funeral. I'm glad it's over with. It's such an honor to be with you. And I know your listeners, your followers, your tribe, I know they know how extraordinary you are, but my ultimate compliment of you, Erin, is that you're exactly the same off stage as you are on stage. You're exactly the same off camera as you are on camera. And I really believe that's where our credibility lies. You know, the definition of sales is the transference of trust. The definition of leadership, of coaching, of mentoring, of educating, of parenting, of selling, it's always the transference of trust. And you're so good at that. So thank you so much for including me in your inner circle of friends. I take pride in that. You're amazing.
Aw, thank you, Dan. Thank you. And we are the sum total of the 5 we surround ourselves with. You know, and character, I really believe character is everything. So it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Thanks. And to sit at the table with you at these events that we're now going to. It really is. You're extraordinary. You're extraordinary. Thank you for your kind words.
Thanks for all of you joining us while we just kind of compliment each other.
Yes. We love you guys too.
This is so wonderful to have you join us.
As we hug each other here on the interview. You're so funny.
I'm so tired of me talking about me. Now you talk about me.
I love you. Okay, so this is the first question that I ask every guest for years. You know, whether it's my summits or my radio show that I did back in the early 2000s. And it's all about the how and the why. How did you get into doing what you're doing? Like a lifetime of extraordinary, and why? I love knowing the purpose behind what makes someone tick.
Well, consolidated. I played football for 13 years. One day in practice, the dream ended. We had a tackling drill. Coach blew the whistle. 2 of us ran into each other full speed. Only parts of our bodies that made contact. Lyle's helmet crashed into my helmet in a violent head-on collision. My right shoulder was smashed into the cutting edge of my fiberglass pads, and we slammed to the ground. And when Lyle got off of me, my eye drooped. I had loss of speech. I couldn't talk anymore. My right side was paralyzed, and my arm dangled helplessly at my side. Fast forward, I stayed paralyzed for 14 months. I went to 16 of the very best doctors, physicians in the country, 15 of whom told me I would never get any better. And how many of us have heard that? And what happens if you believe it? never get any better.
Yeah.
And my life hit what I thought was a fast moving downward spiral until I hit what I thought was rock bottom, which is important to our story and to the answer to your question. And now that I've recovered, the two most frequently asked questions are, why did I keep going to so many different doctors? And the answer is, I kept going from doctor to doctor until I found one who believed I would get better.
Thank
But
God.
from a leadership perspective, the purpose of a leader is to grow more leaders who believe what you believe, not generate more followers. It's so critically important that we begin the answer to every question of why and how and when and what and anything else in our life with where are we right now. It's like ordering an Uber ride that requires that you enter in your current location. And if you lie about where you are, the directions won't work. The second most frequently asked question that ties directly into your question was, what took me so long to recover? And the answer is simple, Erin. I was asking the wrong questions. I was asking the doctors how to get better when I should have been asking myself why. And once we answer why, figuring out the how to becomes clear and simple. Not easy. We still have to put in the work. We still have to do hard things. But it became clear and simple. And so that you don't think that I'm a rah-rah guy and that anybody can come into our lives and recover and follow the steps of resiliency if you can, if you think you can, rah-rah. It's not a cheerleading experience. Recovery and resiliency and transferring your how to a why is actually biological. It's a physiological process proven through medicine, because we know that when you only identify a what and a how, you only engage the brain. Let me interrupt. We all know that knowledge is power, but knowledge has no heart. We don't learn to know, we learn to do. In a humorous vein, all the information in the world is going to make a person successful. It's like the guy who has 3 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in psychology, one in sociology. He doesn't have a job, but at least he can explain why. So bottom line, reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. Reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. And when we only identify a what and a how, we only engage the mind, the brain. But when we add to that a why and a compelling want, that goal, that meaningful, specific goal, what happens is we trigger both the head and the heart. And when we engage both the mind and the soul, the heart, the reason, what happens is, physiologically and biologically proven, our blood starts to pump more rapidly, our brains fire, and our muscles engage. And if we only identify a what and a how, no such emotional experience will ever occur, which means we can never become the best version of ourselves. We can never get back up and go again. We can never maximize and reach our ultimate capacity and potential as a human being. It will never happen unless we engage both sides of the brain, our mind, and our heart, which constitute the soul of humanity. Long answer to a simple question.
That is
it's really
so
important that we all understand the process. It's not just you can, it's you can. If you think you can and are willing to put in the work and change your mindset, up level your belief so that really you can actually get what you want out of life and control your destiny. Simple.
Yes. Yes. And I want everybody to rewind, when after you're done listening to this interview and listen to that again. What you just said, Dan, is so powerful. And so many people don't know anything about it. They don't understand it. And I really believe that it's just because they don't know, they were never taught, and what you just said, it empowers people on every level in a visceral way, on
And
every level.
just metaphorically speaking, I'm coming to you from my library in my home. And it's my I love me room. It's my man cave. And I should, take you on a little tour, but because I've spoken so many times, over 350 speeches to the military all over the world, been downrange 8 times, Iraq, Afghanistan, firing up our troops. I have a collection of well over 500 challenge coins that are given to you by a commanding officer or a senior enlisted leader. They put the coin in their hand, they shake your hand, they look you in the eye, and they say, thanks for going beyond the call of duty. I have photographs. I have model airplanes of every single one of the fighter jets. I've flown all the fighter jets, all the bombers. I've went up in U-2 space, sort of the edge of space in a U-2 reconnaissance plane. These are all in my library. And the significance to our conversation is this: every single photograph has a story. Every single model aircraft, every single, my Olympic torch, that flag that flew over, Fort McHenry, everything in this library means nothing to anyone else except me. And the reason why is, when I come in here at the end of a long day or a long trip, I only need to look at one photo that triggers the entire memory, the entire experience, and most importantly, the life lesson that re-engages the mind with the purpose of that experience, the life lesson that I learned, which automatically tutors me in the moment to remember the life lessons that I've learned from significant individuals like you. And therefore, I can constantly and continuously and relentlessly connect my head with my heart so that I can not just manifest what I want out into the universe in this ethereal, mystical definition of the law of attraction. Too many of us misunderstand it, but in our conversation, Erin, and every time I'm around you and watch you interact with people and the circle of influence, that we surround ourselves with, we become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most. It's amazing how when we talk about the right things, ask the right questions, become vulnerable in the moment so that we feel the answer, we feel the messages.
Yep.
It illuminates the real definition of the law of attraction, which is we don't attract who we want, we attract who we are. And when we become crystal clear on what it is that we want, it doesn't just magically appear in our lives. It's always been there. We just suddenly notice the people, places, and things that are already in our track, that are already on our path, that we didn't notice before, that now we can engage with to help us manifest our ultimate destiny and become the best version of ourselves, or as you would say, everything that we were born to be.
Yeah.
We can't make it complicated. We just need to do what we're talking about and make sure we trigger thoughts and emotion. It all begins with belief. So if I could just illuminate what I said, is I thought when I was paralyzed playing football for 14 months, I hit what I know was a fast moving downward spiral until I hit what I thought was rock bottom. And let me just illuminate that before your next question. In our family, we play an icebreaker game. I'm in my library across our formal entranceway. We have a formal dining room. And when our children come into town, we play Remember When. So we sit around the formal dining room. We usually have a feast. They are invited. They're allowed to invite one of their best friends to join our family get together. And as we play Remember When, we go around the dining room table and everybody takes their turn. I remember when. I remember when I was 9. I remember when I was 15 at the lake house. Gets to my turn. I remember coming home from high school one time with a report card, had 4 F's and 1 D on it. My dad's response: son, looks to me like you're spending too much time on one subject. And my mom thought I cheated. It was a tough moment. And then we go around the room and we come to my daughter's best friend and she starts crying. She starts sobbing. I said, what's up? Are you okay? She says, no. She said, I'm 31 years old. She said, I just got fired from my job. And she said, and my mother was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And through her sobbing tears, she says, I've hit rock bottom. How many of us are guilty of using that description of anything in our lives, a personal relationship, a business adventure, anything that seems to cave in on us, suffocate us to the point where we actually say, I've hit rock bottom. In reality, in that flash of inspiration, in that moment, I said, sweetheart, in reality, no one ever hits rock bottom. We hit rock foundation. Rock belief.
Yes.
The baseline core values on which we were raised. And in our society, especially with the COVID pandemic, if our organization, if our companies, if our businesses seem to have hit a bump in the road and we describe it to the world that we've hit rock bottom, no, they didn't. Our organizations hit the rock foundation, the baseline governing principles on which they were built.
Yes.
So for people who have had trouble recovering from pandemic and COVID-19, it's because they've labeled it and described it and defined it to be something that is so overwhelming, nobody could recover. Oh my gosh, we call stress, which causes anxiety in business. But in sports, we call stress competition. Leadership, we call stress urgency. We're not freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh, we got a timeline. All hands on deck. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
If we look at the COVID crisis as a crisis does not make or break the man or woman. It just reveals the true character within.
Yes.
How about pressure? Under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of training, which means pressure is not something that's naturally there. It's created when you question your own ability. And when you know what you've been trained to do, there's never any pressure. That's why we train and practice so hard. You never lose if you always learn. These are more than cliches here. And we're actually talking about up-leveling our belief.
Yeah.
Because once you get your belief right, you can answer definitively, is your current belief deep enough, strong enough, and true enough to empower you and equip you right now to respond to rapid change? And if not, why not? And if when, why not right now in this broadcast, in this StreamYard, in this in this opportunity to interact with the amazing and wisdom-filled Erin Lay. I honor you, my friend. I appreciate you having me on as a guest, because we have to do our part to reach out to others and remind them that if you're trying to pivot out of COVID, when you pivot, it's a lame word. Yeah. When you pivot, you actually end where you started, because you're just going around in a circle. The new words are passion, creativity, innovation, imagination, hanging out with the right people.
Let me share with you really quick what happened when COVID started for me. I thought, what's the creative opportunity here? What's the creative opportunity to bring more love into this world? Everybody was like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And I've trained myself. I'm so solution oriented that going into worry, like my parents, my father was a Marine, and he was tapped on the shoulder, and he guarded President Eisenhower when Nixon was VP. And like, he's just always astounded by my level of non-worry, and then I just go into solution. One time he actually said to me, he goes, all right, Erin, let's say there's 100 troops. You're on an island, there's 100 troops. I'm telling the story for everybody listening to see the significance of staying solution oriented, especially during a pandemic. So my father said, okay, there's 100 of you on an island, and there's 1,000 coming around the bend to come and attack you. You're going to tell me you're not going to go into worry? And I said, Dad, if I have my head between my knees and I'm in worry, I'm not going to see the getaway boat out of the corner of my eye and get the 100 of my troop on the boat and get off that island. Like, there's certain things that just you will not see if you're in worry. But if you're in solution, if you're in enthusiasm, if you're a lover of life, and you're like in this optimism, you'll just see so many opportunities, and 80% of life is showing up. And speaking about the Valley really quick, when we're in the Valley, that's where we learn our best lessons. That's where the glory, there's so much glory in the Valley, because it's, again, what you said, Dan, so beautifully. It shows you who you are, and what you want to work on, what you need to work on. And
your Marine, and now your Marine story brings to mind, with my twisted sense of humor, if you're 100 outnumbered by 1,000, what you want to do is wait till they surround you so you can shoot in any direction. You'll have them exactly where you want them. You don't even have to aim. You will win the war because of solution orientation.
Right. But you see all the different options that we have. Like, when you're in solution, there's so many different options. And if you and I were on that island together, we'd be brainstorming like this. You know what I mean?
Back to back, and I'd be shooting all the guys on that side. You'd be shooting all the guys on that side. We'd win the battle. We'd win the war.
That's right. Bring on a million. Bring them on. Bring it.
In fact, that brings up a great story. This young general idolized this older general because he had never lost a battle or a war, and finally got to have dinner with him. And he asked the old general, "What was your secret to never losing a battle or a war?" The old general says, "Well, I always led my troops from the front, and I always wore a bright red shirt." And the young general says, "Well, isn't that kind of conspicuous? You're definitely going to get shot." And the old general says, "Yeah, but when I got shot, the blood color red of my blood would perfectly mesh into the red color of my shirt. My men never knew I was shot. So they kept fighting until we won the battle and won the war. You should try it sometime." The young general says, "Yeah, I think I will. Lieutenant, why don't you go bring me my brown pants?" Solution oriented.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Don't get me started.
That's a good one. That's good. All right, so let's talk about significance, because that's your whole significance. You have the art of significance. You have success and significance. Let me just put it up here. So let's talk about how significance is.
Okay. I want everybody to email me at dan@danclark.com. And oh no, I lied. Info at danclark.com. info@danclark.com. And the tagline in there, the subject line is what? So that I know that I'm going to give you a free download of one of my books, The Art of Significant Leadership. And maybe you can tell them what's the byline on there. What are we going to have?
Life on Track.
Yeah, Life on Track.
Right. This way you'll know that they came from here.
Exactly. And I only threw that out shamelessly because I want to keep in touch, and I definitely want you to all have a piece of me so you can regurgitate and kind of reread some of these stories or analogies or quotes. But to answer your question, I think I'll cut right to the chase, Erin. Many years ago, I was in a conversation with one of my football teammates, and he was drafted into the NFL in the second round by the Philadelphia Eagles. After 2 years with the Eagles, he's traded to my Oakland Raiders. After 4 years with the Raiders, 4 years in the league, playing at the highest Pro Bowl status, the highest Pro Bowl level, one day he walks out of practice, quits, never to play again. Why? He loved being a football player, but he hated playing football. He got what he thought he wanted, but he hated what he got. He loved the celebrity perks and the fame and fortune that allowed him to live this life we call successful. Let me interrupt. Being successful is always predicated on competing and comparing ourselves against others, which always breeds bitterness.
Yeah.
Nice house, nice car, nice holiday, nice title, nice income. And we're always competing and comparing ourselves against someone else, which is shameful.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
It's not right. And I know where that started with one of my dear friends here in Utah, Stephen Covey. Most of us have devoured his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
One of his habits actually created a limiting belief: begin with the end in mind. Think about it. When we begin with the end in mind, it forces us to focus on a destination that's impressive compared to others, competing against others. Doing our best to manage people and reward results, which means that once we've accomplished that goal and have that destination trophy, you got to start all over again. I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and then what happens? We gain 30 pounds back, celebrating the 20 that we just lost. It's wrong, and it creates a limiting belief. But what happens if you begin with the why in mind, which inspires us and empowers us and encourages us to enjoy the journey that's important? What matters most is what lasts the longest, which means we manage expectations and reward effort, which means there's never a destination. I'm not going to set a physical goal. I'm going to engage in being physically fit, which is a mindset, quality of life change, a habit that puts me into nutrition, puts me into exercise, puts me into mental health, and everything else that goes along with physical fitness on an ongoing basis, which means it doesn't matter if I live to be 105, I'm still the best version of myself because I'm never saying I finally arrived.
Yeah.
And think about it. Successful people get what they think they want because they're focused in on being successful. Those of us who are striving to live lives of significance do whatever we need to do to make sure we want what we get, so we don't die with our dreams, our goals, and our music still in us. If you go to my website, danclark.com, you can watch videos. You can watch my formal introduction narrated by Larry King. You can see I've interviewed most of the biggest name celebrities. I've dined in the White House with presidents, with sheikhs. And I meet so many very wealthy, very famous people who are so sad.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
gained the whole world and lost their soul.
Yeah.
They've traded in everything that's important to them for what they think is impressive at the moment. And that's why I'm on this mission to make sure everybody can transform their lives from successful to significance so they don't die with their music still in them. And that's what attracts you and I together.
Yeah.
That's what attracts our circle of friends.
Yeah.
Because everybody, without even using my word significance or striving to achieve the level beyond success, as my subtitle says in my book, The Art of Significance, that's just kind of the level of conversation where we begin and end and leave each other saying, as I would say, like, I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. Why? Because I'm significant around you. It's not what we do, it's with whom we do it. It's not making money. It's why we make money, so we can make a bigger difference. It all makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to your listeners, to your viewers.
Well, it's Life on Track, and they're tuning in for exactly that. You know, that's you and I are so similar in our mission, in what it is that we're doing, that we want to do, and our why. And when you can roam through the planet, you know, fully as you, just you, you know, like with the confidence that you're being the best version of you, it eliminates so much of the suffering. You know, like when you said with competing with other people, and you know, I always say there's two lanes, and you know this: the competitive lane and the creative lane. And stay in your lane, Life on Track. I even have the URL, stayinyourlane.club for Clubhouse, stayinyourlane.club. But when you're in your creative lane and you just want to expand your world, constantly creating and allowing other people around you to show up as the best version of them, life gets to be fun.
Absolutely.
Fun.
And it dispels the challenge that we've heard so long. You got to think outside the lines. You got to think outside the box. Why don't you join Erin and I in the back of the room and answer, what if the answers are still in the box?
Yes.
Most people who tune into programs like yours, most people who go to Secret Knock, most people who go to trainings or speakers like me, they come in search of the new answers. Come on, Clark, give me the pixie dust. Come on, Erin, give me that secret sauce. And they're poised, ready to take copious notes. When in reality, don't you think we ought to come in search of the right answers? And the right answers have always been right, or we can't call them right, which means they're right for every generation. Oh my gosh, the millennials are so different than Gen Xers. Oh my gosh, they're both so different than we baby boomers. Not if you talk about the right, irrefutable, non-controversial, unchanging truths of the universe, which I cover in my book, The Art of Significance, Achieving the Level Beyond Success. I've honed in on the 12 highest universal laws. And there's not 21, there's not 9. Every other law in the universe is governed by these 12 laws, which first and foremost begins with the highest law of the universe, obedience. You don't even have to believe or understand the law of gravity, and it's still in play. So unless you understand it and obey it, you will suffer a consequence. Same thing with the law of attraction, the law of resonance, the law of the harvest, the law of progression. Any one of those laws, the law of relativity, the law of physics, the law of mathematics, obedience and subscribing to that law is where everything begins. And when you obey that specific law illuminated in my book, guaranteed you will reap that specific reward.
Yeah.
And when you disobey that specific law, guaranteed you will suffer that consequence. So it behooves us to first and foremost read and understand and study the 12 highest laws of the universe. Then, more importantly, associate with people like Erin. Tune into Life on Track programs like Erin's. Go out of your way to validate that, yes, we become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most, which means we must be willing to pay any price and travel any distance to associate with extraordinary human beings, even online.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And one of my favorite laws is the law of reciprocity.
Absolutely.
What we give out returns. It's one of my favorite laws.
And as Zig Ziglar illuminated, my mentor, you can get anything in this life that you want if you're willing to help enough other people get what they want. That's the law of reciprocity consolidated into a catchy phrase. I add to that, wealth flows through you, not to you. It's amazing how all of these opportunities to fly in fighter jets, go to space, came about because my mindset is give, 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 then ask. Serve, 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 turn every sales pitch into a serve pitch. What can I do for you? And then what goes around comes around. Karma's a real deal. I've given over 350 free speeches to the military. When the military calls, the answer is always yes. And then eventually a commander will say, Clark, we know what your speaker's fee is. You've been so generous with your time and talents. What can we do for you? And I unashamedly say, I want to do the air show with the Thunderbirds.
Wow.
I want to take off and land on an aircraft carrier in an F-15 and an F-18. And they can't say no.
Right.
My motivation isn't to do that because that could occur.
Yeah.
My motivation is to serve our military, honor our military families, honor our country, and then the belief of the reciprocity law of the universe.
Yeah.
Everything else takes care of itself.
Yes. Yes. It falls into
on this program. I can't say no to you, so I'm actually grateful you didn't ask me for a new truck.
Have a new truck, Dan. I'm joking. You are amazing. You're incredible. And you already told everybody that they can receive your free gift at info
at danclark.com. And it's going to be the art of significant leadership. But I'd like you to follow me on Instagram, Dan Clark Speak, because I post these short videos.
Yeah.
I have a Wednesday Wisdom where I do a book report of the books I'm reading lately. I have a Friday Funny. I have one of my books is a joke book and a quote book. You can laugh your guts out.
Yeah.
And all with a message, obviously. Like, for example, when my Aunt Lucy was 63 years old, she started walking 5 miles every day. Now she's 91 and we don't know where she is. We laugh.
Right.
But the life lesson is, instead of trying to figure out your strategic direction of where we're going, if we can just focus in on the importance of process versus outcome and focus in on right now, as I posted today in my post that I always do 5 days a week, process versus outcome is, instead of thinking about winning the championship, if you think about this specific workout, this specific film session, this specific practice drill, this specific gameplay, winning will take care of itself. And that's what your program is about, to remind us. That's what all of my sports memorabilia is about downstairs in my wall of fame. It's what all these photographs and airplane models are about, to trigger in that one moment to learn and be the best version of myself right now, present in this moment, present in every moment. And in the rest of the life and success and significance takes care of itself.
Oh, I love you. And it does. It does. We can't create anything from the past, and we can't create anything from the future. Everything happens in the present moment. And I love
most people are telling us, I've heard you say it, you've heard me say it, everybody says, live in the present, be present in the moment. But what if your present sucks?
Right.
So that's why people medicate themselves. They want to live in the past, the Uncle Rico syndrome. I remember when I threw that 40-yard pass, touchdown, to win the game in high school. I'm like, really? When your horse dismount, get a new trim, get a new horse, you giddy up. Or we live in the future. We fantasize. No, right now, we've got to talk about it. And an outcome evaluation focuses on the future. A process evaluation focuses in on the present. And when you focus on the present, you create happiness because you're in complete control, in charge of what is happening right now. May I share a quote as we start to wind down our time?
Of course.
Today, you've never been this old before. And today, you'll never be this young again. So right now matters, and every right now matters. Which means no matter what your past has been, you have a spotless future. Which means you can't always control what happens, but you can always control what happens next. So the goal is not to sit around wondering whether or not your glass is half empty or half full. If you want to live on track, you have to understand that if you wonder if your glass is half empty or half full, you've missed the point. It's refillable. Thinking positively or thinking negatively does not fill up the glass. The pouring does.
Yeah.
It's easier to act your way into positive thinking than it is to think your way into positive action. It's not the sugar that makes the tea sweet, it's the stirring. It's the process. It's the daily dose of Erin Lay. It's the daily dose of these podcasts. It's the daily dose of reading 15 minutes in any one of my books or in anything that you produce, Erin. That's what we owe to ourselves so that we don't die with our music still in us.
I love you. I love that. I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I yanked my chain. Dang, it wasn't recording. Could we start over with Hello Dan?
David Corbin will never forget that. I love him for giving me a second chance.
That's funny. That's really funny.
You're the best. You really are the best. And you've been a massive, massive asset to this Life on Track TV series. And it's a podcast series as well. It's just, you're a blessing. Really, you're absolutely.
I hope you'll have me back. I'm a storyteller and I love to share experiences that illuminate what you're so about, Erin. And that's just being present in every conversation. You make everybody feel like they're the most important person in your room, in your table, in your life. And I appreciate your friendship so much and I honor you.
Oh, thank you, Dan. And likewise.
Thanks.
Likewise, for sure. For sure. I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. Thank you. You are the best. You're the best. All right. So everyone, this has just been an amazing time with Dan Clark, and absolutely just the information, the wealth of information and insight has just been extraordinary. And so stay tuned each Monday as my guests and I bring you more insight and information on how you can live your life on track. So have a magnificent day, everyone. And always remember to live onward and upward. Love you.